Welcome to the Pit Check, your weekly news for the best and heaviest new albums from your favorite extreme metal and hardcore bands. This week is packed with so many unbelievably good new albums. Genuinely, this might have been the hardest week this year to try and pick the 8 or 9 ones to highlight. So I tried to have a good mix of hardcore, death metal, deathcore, metalcore, etc. You know the drill. And I started to notice that all the bands that I picked this week were all kind of unhinged a little bit and just totally swinging for the fences, unafraid of who they are. So yeah, you could say there's a lot of unique bands this week. And of course, at the end of the episode, I'll have the list of all the albums that came out this week, whether or not we covered them on today's episode. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into this week's best and heaviest new albums. Do not sleep on Baltimore hardcore. My absolute favorite Baltimore hardcore band, End It, are back again with their latest album titled Wrong Side of Heaven. If you've never heard of End It, change that immediately. They have this incredible two-stepping, pedal-to-the-metal, up-tempo style, and the guitars are so melodic and riffy and filled with solos, perfectly blending these punky grooves with this gritty-as-hell old-school hardcore. And vocalist Akil Godsey is absolutely showing off on this album as well. Not only does he have his classic piercing barks and yells, but here he gets to show off even some of his clean singing skills, especially on their cover of Maximum Penalty's Could You Love Me? I am obsessed with this band, and I could go on for hours about how this band is a masterclass and all of the instrumentalists supporting each other instead of stepping on each other's toes, and about how the mixing and mastering on this album is legitimately flawless. You can hear every note from every single instrument and nothing gets muddy in the mix, but also without over polishing it and losing that grit and grime. So yeah, long story short, if you like hardcore, just do yourself a favor and check this one out. I love when two totally random bands put out a split together. The 2000s metalcore band Evergreen Terrace and the 2000s hardcore punk band Wisdom in Chains have just collabed on this new split EP. The split starts with 4 songs from Wisdom in Chains, and every song is up-tempo and groovy and catchy as hell, with I think some of the clearest and best recorded vocals I've ever heard from this band. If you love mixing oi punk and hardcore, you're gonna love this. Then we've got 4 songs from the legendary metalcore band Evergreen Terrace, one of which being a Dead Kennedys cover, you know which one, with 2 new songs and then a third alternate version of one of those new songs. And it's also worth noting that these songs are a little bit more punk and hardcore leaning than a lot of their previous work. This was an awesome new split from 2 bands, each with 2 decade-plus careers, still managing to sound as aggressive and fresh as ever. Needs in 2010s metalcore? The synthy electronic metalcore band Kingdom of Giants is back with their latest EP titled Burning Chrome. There's a good balance on this EP between the clean and harsh vocals. The singing isn't just relegated to the choruses. Both vocals are a lot more cohesive and woven together than some of their early work, and they've still got plenty of killer breakdowns. This is a great new EP, and along with their EP from last year, something must have happened with Kingdom of Giants because they seem to have a fire lit under their ass. This has been back-to-back some of the best work in their entire career. I stopped looking at the clouds. Want some Australian Blackened Deathcore? The Melbourne-based deathcore and Numetal crossover band Melancholia has just released their sophomore album titled Random.access.misery. This time around, they're pulling back just a little bit from those Blackened deathcore elements. They're still here, but there's a lot more metallic hardcore and nu metal sound, even citing their influences as Mudvayne, Korn, and Slipknot, as well as Whitechapel and Vane FM. The band said with this album they wanted to throw it back to a little bit more of the music from their formative years, saying they used to have a Windows 95 aesthetic, and now they wanted to upgrade by leaning into more of the Y2K and cyber aesthetics. But don't get me wrong, this is still every bit as evil and dark as their previous work. This was a really fun new album, and now that this band is supported by both Nuclear Blast Records and Grayscale Records, they definitely have a bright future ahead. Do you love Swedish melodic death metal? The Swedish Melodeath band in Mourning is celebrating their 25th anniversary with this new album titled The Immortal. It's always crazy to me when a band that's been around for like 20 plus years is still able to pump out music that's sort of on the same level as some of their most iconic work. And I like the way that they keep evolving and changing, but little by little, it's still unquestionably in Mourning the second you hear it. I loved how emotional and haunting and dark the atmosphere is on this entire album, really bringing in a lot of those black metal elements, and a surprising amount of really fun, offbeat, and syncopated patterns. If you want some really solid melodic death metal from a band with the wisdom and experience to know exactly what you're looking for, definitely check this one out. Florida metalcore goes crazy. The 2000s throwback metalcore and revivalcore band withpaperwings, all one word, has just put out this incredible new EP titled 6,000 Days. If you love that rough around the edges Myspace metalcore and deathcore sound, bands with non-stop incredible guitar work, classic death metal riffs, and super harsh vocals, this is about to be your new favorite band. From the very first riff, it's so clear that these guys have nailed that 2005 metalcore sound. And this record label, The Coming Strife, you need to keep your eyes on. Literally everything they've been putting out is non-stop heat. Even just the last 2 weeks, they've put out Upon Broken Apologies and Faced Out, which were insane. I don't know what's in the water in Florida, but it's producing some insane metal. Definitely stoked to see where this band is going to go from here. Need some unhinged new Mathcore? The insanely chaotic and honestly genre-defying band Lowheaven have just put out their debut album titled Ritual Decay. This band describes themselves as, quote, somewhere between post-hardcore, screamo, blackened noise, and metal. And we're not a happy listen. Lowheaven is something that has got a lot of weight. And they're not kidding about the heaviness. Like, yes, of course, this band has panic chords and breakdowns and really fuzzy, overwhelming guitars, but they're also just like spiritually heavy. Like, this band feels like they live somewhere between a panic attack and a manic episode, with this just straight up depressing atmosphere that feels like the world is ending and there's nothing you can really do about it. But then I swear to God, it has this like weirdly calming and uplifting overtone, almost like you're finally at peace with just having no control. I really enjoyed this one, especially from an artistic standpoint. Obviously, like a chat pile, it's not going to be one that you just pop on at a party. But if you want to get up in your feels with a band that's not afraid to go there with you, definitely check this one out. New York death metal is disgusting. The iconic brutal death metal band Pyrexia is back again with this unbelievably good new album titled Unholy. This is a re-recording of their 2018 album, Unholy Requiem, which had a notoriously pretty rough mix, and there were like rumors of some distribution issues, but I couldn't really get a source on that. But either way, this re-recording comes as a welcome surprise, and has features from Sanguisugabog and Suffocation. If you love ungodly, heavy, and punishing death metal that feels like it's constantly beating you over the head with the most brutal riffs, you cannot miss this one. Whether this is your first time hearing this album or you're now revisiting it 7 years later, this is still every bit as fresh and impressive as it was the day it was released. Okay, and now here is the list of all the albums that came out this week, whether or not we covered them. Again, there were so many good albums this week. Genuinely, it was so hard to pick. If literally anything at all on this list sticks out to you, go check it out. Bear the Mark, Barriers, Drown Under Concrete, Spire of Lazarus, and so many more on here are so good. A lot of these ones didn't make it literally because of the flip of a coin. So definitely, please check out some of these bands. And as always, let me know if there's anything I missed or if there's any bands I should have covered, or if I really screwed up by not including some of these. Let me know in the comments or yell at me. And again, feel free to share your band or your friend's band. Always on the hunt for new music. Thank you again for joining me on this week's album reviews, and I'll catch you next week for next week's album reviews.